You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Nick, Alex, I Yield to Noah, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
And welcome everybody to Trophy Horrors episode 675. This week is brought to you by the small but elite team of Matt and Alex. Alex, how you doing?
Some would say that we're a very mighty, if not fearsome combo, Matt, because of our, what I would say, our pretty middle-of-the-road intellect. Well, I don't know. I probably would say higher for you, but I bring down the average.
We're still average in general, so I'll take that.
Hey, you know what? These days, that gets a lot better than most other people.
I just think as long as we're average, we're technically above average. So I'll take that all day, every day. This week, Tricky is in Acapulco recruiting for us. So hopefully
we sent him somewhere nice
there.
Like they've got resorts there. What did we send him there for?
Well, I didn't book a hotel for him, so I just sent him there.
Oh.
And Yield is in Azerbaijan. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know where we had the budget to send them to these places, but again, I didn't book hotels, so I guess they're SOL on where they're sleeping.
I have to say it's nice that you picked two places to start with A, the letter A.
So. Yeah, I decided what we should do is just go down the alphabet, and I pull up all the countries with an A, and I just pick two at random.
Oh, I was going to say, you didn't think to send him to Yield to Albania before Azerbaijan?
Yeah, no, I figured it would be a little too weird to just go alphabet by alphabet. But, this is enough structure, but also with enough randomness built in.
Oh, you got to love that RNG. Well, I guess some people love RNG. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of it, but them's the breaks these days, because you're going to have to fight it one way or another in a game you play.
Hey, they're lucky we're sending them anywhere. I go to Alabama to recruit, and lucky to find somebody down there with Wi-Fi. How's your week been?
I would make a joke about them using porta potties to pee in, but I live in Kentucky, and there's plenty of jokes about Kentucky out there about using porta johns. So I don't know if I'm necessarily the one to call anyone out for that. Plus, I have family in Alabama, so I don't know if they'd be too happy with me if I started cracking jokes on them.
All right, moving on.
But you're a northerner, so you can do all you want.
Yeah, I'm a damn Yank.
A Yankee Doodle dandy, some might say.
Very dandy, so I've heard. We will get into our updated trophy counts. I don't think much has moved since last week on many of these, and if we're in error, I apologize, but you know me, and I don't care. So Tricky is level 968 with total count of 34,480 trophies and still on that 999 platinums, which is just an upside down 666. So, whether or not he listens to this, I don't know if you realize that or not. Alex, your trophies?
Level 522, total trophy count of 10,663 and a platinum count of 194. In 193 games, which means, if you've been keeping count, I got a new platinum trophy. Yes.
Wait, 194 and 193 games?
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt, you have had to have heard that story before, unless you just blocked it out.
If I did, I apologize.
Also, Matt, I've been saying this for years now, and you just now caught on?
I've never admitted to being the sharpest tack in the box.
That's why we said average, middle of the road, Matt. That's you and me. But
I have good days and bad days.
So for the uninitiated, and for Matt, who's been on the show for I don't know how long now, but I say that because I got the Sly for Thieves in Time Platinum Trophy twice by playing the game once. It had the cross-save, cloud save feature, where you could pull your save file over to like the Vita after you played on the PS4. No, it was the PS3. So you can play on the PS3 and then can pull your save file into the cloud and then continue on the Vita, which is a nice feature. But what that did was, and I didn't know this, it would pop all the trophies you've already earned based on your save file. So I was playing it on the 3, and then I started playing it on the Vita, because I didn't have access to the television at that point, and it started popping trophies. And eventually, it got me the platinum trophy for playing the 2 platinum trophies for playing the game once. So that's why I say 100. I say 194 in 193 games.
Okay, got it. As opposed to like somebody like Tricky that purposefully goes to do that in all of the games that he ever plays.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I don't want to be compared to Tricky because I don't buy the same game in 50 different regions. Not that there are that many around the world, but I also would never play the jumping burrito, which Tricky, I think, is one of his more recent platinum trophies. So
there you go.
Hopefully that's not his 1000th game. That'd be real sad.
That would be sad. And that's me saying that.
It would honestly, let's be real, when it comes to Tricky, that would be like maybe the perfect game for him to get the platinum. If it can't be the Division, and I know he's not going to wait for the next Division game to get that platinum trophy, the jumping burrito is probably the next best thing, because that is Tricky to a T. Either he's playing some spam crap, or he's playing the Division.
Yield is level 530 with total count of 11,174 trophies and 214 platinums. If this is your first time listening to the show, well, first off, welcome. Second off, you'll know that my trophy counts don't move very much.
I thought you said fuck them. I was like, damn, Matt, what an initiation.
To be clear, I did say welcome. So for those who might be hard of hearing, Alex, I want to be clear, welcome.
Look, man, I listened to a lot of loud music when I was younger and still continue to this day, so my hearing may not be the best. Also, I'm sure as I get older, I'm collecting all that hair in my ears that, old people seem to get, so.
I might shield it more. I remember the concert I was at when my hearing got shot. It was bad. I hate that band now.
What concert was that?
It was the Papa Roach concert, but it was being opened by a band called Snapcase. And they started with like the speakers. I remember
Snapcase.
Yeah, and of course, me being stupid at my younger college years, I didn't wear earplugs. And not for any reason, I just didn't ever bother with them. As I got older, it became important. But now I have tinnitus because they did this thing over the speakers where it was just like this loud banging, and I actually felt like physical pain when that happened. So I covered my ears as best as I could, but the damage is already done.
Well, you tried, Matt, and that's the prize you get is damaged hearing. I mean, who knows what your eardrums look like these days?
What? So going back, I am level 222 with a trophy count of 1,337 and 0 platinums. Though with the games announced in the State of Play and the Xbox showcase, I think I may have to start a new profile soon so I don't change that number. Sid is level 894 with 27,366 trophies and a platinum count of 851. So before we get into what we've been playing, there's this thing that goes on with one of our listeners, Gaz Davis. It's this trophy rarity contest. I can't tell you much about it, about what to do. However, I can tell you his updates that he gave me. He said, "Hi, Matt. Tricky asked to send the rarity update to you this evening." Thank you, Gaz. The lead in Division 1 has changed hands again. Marky Frazier putting in a strong score, 108 to take him above Pee-wee on 1,995 points. It's still tight at the top with Pee-wee scoring 41, taking her to 1,943. Diego had the highest score in Division 1 at 180, which put him right back into contention in third place on 1,928. Fairly quiet for the rest of the league, however. Mr. TMNT84 climbed for the second week running, this time into 8th from 9th, swapping places with California Wayne. As for our Trophy Whores host, Yield scored 41 points and is now just 7 points shy of hitting the 1,000 point mark on 993 in 6th spot. Tricky stays in 13th. His Division DLC trophies haven't suffered any decay thus far, and this keeps him above Alex, still on 449 after a 23-point increase. Alex did close the gap to 19 points, though, scoring 34 points himself, moving him to 430. This was the highest score of the season for Big Bernardo B at the bottom with 42 points, getting him to 304. In Division 2, the top two, Doc Chicken and Cyticist, mustered 10 points between them, 9 going to Doc Chicken. CJ put on a strong show with 88 points in third. Highest score in the division and overall for the week was X Nightmare 317, who scored 219 points, pushing him up to fourth place from eighth on 801 points. Rarest trophies of the week go to the following. In the fifth spot, Diego with Back to Where You Belong in Injustice 2 at 5.3%. Fourth was Dupes25 with the Platinum in Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time. Maybe it's Fantasy Life 1. I don't know. Third, Pee-wee Solid Gold Baby in GTA 5 at 2.82%. Raffle Laws in second with King in the North and Battlefield 4 at 2.11%. And the rarest goes to X Nightmare 317 for the Plat and I Am Bread at 0.44%. Plat shoutouts for the week awarded to X Nightmare 317 for Paw Patrol, Mighty Pups at I Am Bread, Murray 2011 in Thank Goodness You're Here, Dupes 25 in Fantasy Life 1, The Girl Who Steals Time, Dat One Seagal in Dark Souls 2, Darth Knight 82 in Subnautica Below Zero, Big Bernardo B with Cat Quest, Misi Goats a Lot, and Raise Havoc, who both earned the Platinum Arcade Paradise. Well, spoiler alerts, folks. I'm also being asked.
Even I didn't know what I got a Platinum Trophy in.
I'm also being asked to remind people the May Plat of the Month poll is live on the Trophy Looting Facebook group and to get their votes in. Could Alex vote on air given he's not on Facebook any longer? The nominees are Immortals of Avium, Octopath Traveler, Forza Horizon 5, Stardew Valley, Oblivion Remastered, Helldivers 2, Alan Wake Remastered, Infamous, Tomb Raider, and Phasmophobia. He tells me to feel free to have a vote myself if I like. I will abstain, Gareth.
Oh, god dang it. Why? I don't know the percentage of these. I think Phasmophobia takes a while to platinum, so I'll say Phasmophobia. Although I was going to say Stardew Valley, but I guess I'll go with Phasmophobia. It came down to those two. So whoever had Stardew Valley, I'm sorry.
All right, I will make sure Gaz is updated with your vote. That was a lot of games going on, but Alex, you played some games this week. What did you play?
Yeah, I finished a game and I started a new game, and woo. So my Platinum Trophy, as Gaz has already broken the news, was in Arcade Paradise, although, let's be real, you all probably could have guessed that because that's the one new game I've been playing that I didn't have a Platinum in, and, I'm not going to just happen into a Platinum out of nowhere. So yeah, Arcade Paradise was my Platinum Trophy. Really enjoyed the game. I like the, even if they don't go crazy with it, I do like the kind of 90s, late 80s tinged style and presentation to, the game itself, the title and everything. The one thing I really wish, they've got a jukebox in the game and it's tied to a trophy. For those wondering, you have to buy all of the extra songs and listen to all the songs in the game. One of the grindier trophies in there, but still, I still don't consider anything in this game to be too grindy compared to, some of the other games out there. But I wish that, and this is a big ask, but I wish that there were more recognizable, more popular songs from like the 90s and 80s, kind of like just to put it in a time period. And I get it, Nosebleed Interactive, they're like a smaller developer, so shilling out the money for, bigger name songs and the licenses, I get it, it's not feasible. But that is kind of one thing. I didn't listen to the jukebox a lot because I didn't, really get down with a lot of the songs. I just kind of played the songs for the trophy, but Sonically Youthful is the trophy, if you're wondering. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the only real, it's not even a gripe, it's just I kind of wish that we had a more recognizable song list, but I understand why they didn't, and they chose the music they did. And maybe it's, just personal preference, like the Nosebleed had some favorite songs they put in there that are more underground, a little more indie, and like, hey, we'll put this in there and, get these guys' names out there. And so But overall, I mean, like I said, some of for the most part, I like the arcade games themselves. Once you get to the end of the game, it's basically you're playing all the games and you're not really worried about anything else. But a few games in there that were not my favorites. But again, for the most part, you got to play some of the games for trophies. But if you don't like a game, you're not necessarily hamstrung into playing it for a super long time. But overall, like the concept, I didn't buy any of the DLC arcade cabinets. They're $2 each, which I don't want to say steep because, I mean, you're getting a brand new game, but these are smaller games, and I kind of got my fill just from the main game. But overall, a nice variety of games, a lot of fun games, some duds in there. You're going to expect that because you're not going to like everything you play. And some of the games I didn't like, maybe somebody else liked. But yeah, the theming I liked, although it was mainly just kind of the theming at the title screen and, maybe when you select your file, but could have done a little more with the 80s, 90s, but at the end of the day, I think they made a really good game, and that's kind of where it counts. And a game that, I just got a lot of enjoyment in just like where I placed my cabinets. Kind of like that's one of the things I did toward the end of the game after I finished the story is I rearranged my cabinets to make more sense as to where I would have liked to have everything in my own arcade space. Some of the arcade machines, they're too big. They go in a specific spot and you can't move them, but you can move a lot of them around to make more sense in your space. So I did enjoy just a small thing like that. But so yeah, Arcade Paradise closed the books on that and quite enjoyed it. So yeah, I would recommend it to everyone else out there. Like I said, light on the actual sim mechanics, but heavy on the games. The other game that I played this week and actually just started today, so I'm not super far in. But as always, I'll give you my immediate thoughts. So I switched it up and I was going to play. I talked about the Blueprints, which I understand V has been playing Blueprints over there in the Grinelli household. I also thought about, I downloaded Another Crab's Treasure, which I think is a more difficult game. Like it's got that difficult combat, third-person combat, kind of like maybe not as hard as, but kind of like the Souls series. And definitely, when I was looking at guides and stuff, a harder platinum trophy than I would have thought. So, yeah, I mean, I've still got it downloaded, and I'll probably check it out at some point, hopefully before my PlayStation Plus membership is up. And we'll talk about that because we've got an update on that, but we finally figured out why I don't get a discount on PlayStation Plus. But so I've rambled, but the new game I'm playing is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which, if you all remember, was the game, the Ubisoft original, that was kind of deemed a flop because, I don't know, Ubisoft put too much stake in the game, had mismanaged the financial projections. I don't know. But anyway, Metroidvania style game, 2.5D, where it's got like the 3D character models, but it's like a 2D side scrolling. I can't even say side scrolling. It up scrolls, it down scrolls, a scrolling game, a 2D dimensions scrolling game. So kind of like think of Tales of Kenzera, think of Castlevania, think of Metroid, that kind of style. You come to a different area, you come to an area and you may be locked out of progression or you can't get to a certain secret room until you go further in the game and get this power up. You all know what I'm talking about. We're all veterans of the games here. But played it so far for maybe an hour or so, maybe an hour and a half. Combat is challenging. If you want, you can play the game on easy and still get the platinum trophies. There's no really difficulty trophy tied to it. But I played on the warrior setting, which is just kind of the default because I generally like to play on games what the standard difficulty is. And I mean, combat is based, early on you learn how to parry. And so like timing of your defenses is important. It's not just all hack and slash, although there are hack and slash elements to it. But there is also, you got to play defense too. So I do appreciate that. And one of the things that always gets me about the Metroidvania games is that I hate coming to an area that I have to access later. And I get it, like, people are probably like, well, then why the fuck do you play Metroidvania games? I don't know. I grew up with them, and I can just get around that. I can deal with it. I still enjoy them. But this game has a system where you can take a picture or, like, create a memory, as they call it in the game, of an area where you need to come back to later, and it'll leave an icon on the map when you pull it up, which is a nice touch. And that makes things a lot easier for finding all the secrets and stuff. So I do appreciate that. And yeah, combat at this point, aside from parrying and hack and slash, it's a little simplistic. I'm sure I'll get more moves as time goes on. But overall, I mean, I think it's a pretty admirable, Metroidvania style game. I don't know if I'll like it as much of Tales of Kenzera. And I really like Tales of Kenzera. I mean, gameplay was really good, but also like the African lore and the myth and the legend and the bosses. Like that was that was kind of the strong point of that game, and I really enjoyed all of that. I don't know if this game will have all of that, although I did see in the press release pictures there's a giant cobra that you fight, which looked cool as shit. So who knows? Maybe I'll like this even better. But so far, I think it started off on the right foot, and why this game, seems like a decently sized game for the style of game it is. I don't know why this was considered a flop, but I'm playing it on PlayStation Plus Extra, so just trying to get it out of my catalog and get it done with before July when my PlayStation Plus subscription runs out. And so thanks to Tricky, because I've been looking for, they've advertised you can get a discount on PlayStation Plus for, if you're a new member or you're, upgrading your subscription, which upgrading your subscription is the key word there, because thanks to Tricky, I figured out why I can't get the discount. I'm on the premium tier, which is the top tier, which means I can't upgrade to anything. I can just renew, so I can renew for the regular price, and that's it. So I most likely in the next month will be canceling my subscription and maybe going all the way down to Essential. Hey y'all, sorry for the dropout. Gotta get you back to the audio here shortly. And I've only played one game from that section this year, and that's War of the Monsters, a game that I played also 2 years ago. So, I know they just released Myst, and I think a Myst sequel. They're adding new games quite regularly, like every month, but just not seeing what I want to play in there. So, there's not really at this point. I'm doing more from the extra tab. So there's not really any point seemingly for me to get premium because the classics they're adding just really aren't games that I really want to play. So in all likelihood, I'm going to bounce back down to Essential and, especially with some of the game announcements we've gotten already, in recent weeks, I got some great brawlers from, Dotemu and Tribute Games coming out. Hell, I might be spending some money on some new games. I'm not going to wait for them to come to extra PlayStation Plus. So, maybe I'm about to kick it down to Essential. But yeah, if you were wondering, we talked about it before, that's why. It's because I literally cannot upgrade my subscription anymore, and I get no discount whatsoever. So, womp.
Sucks to be a paying member of the society.
Well, the joke's on you, Matt, because Tricky bought me the subscription, so I didn't actually pay for it.
Is the joke on me or is the joke on Tricky?
I don't know. I guess Tricky got what he wanted out of it was me talking about a bunch of games I played on PlayStation Plus, so I don't know.
There you go.
I almost, and I'm not saying I want this, but I almost expect him in the last minute to swoop in and get it for me, because that's what he did last time. It's like he offered to buy me and yield the subscription, and we're like, no, man, you don't got to. And he did it anyway for me, and yield just outright refused. So you never know what he's going to do. Not saying I want that, but I almost expect him to kind of swoop in and try to get me to, re-up by him offering to get it for me.
Tricky's nice like that.
He is, but I want it to be very clear that like I said, I haven't played much on the premium tier, so it's really not worth it for me at this point until they announce, something I would rather play. So, not really something I need, to be honest with you.
Anything else you've been playing?
So no, it was just finishing Arcade Paradise and starting Prince of Persia. It was actually, to be honest, is my first Prince of Persia game I've ever played. I've never played any of the other ones, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Well, look forward to your reports in the coming weeks.
Oh, bet your ass you will, Matt. Say, Matt, I'll bet, if we're talking about betting, I'll bet you played some good games this week. I know you've been, fixing up the house and packing stuff away and all that, doing more, we should say, more practical work around the house rather than just sitting down and playing games. But I'm sure that you sat down and enjoyed yourself some Monster Hunter Wilds, some good stuff. Got to be maybe some Nightreign, some more Nightreign.
Good transition, because yes, between literally watching paint dry, I made sure to take a break and get some gaming on.
I can read you like some fucking book.
I am an open book. Especially with the games you called me out on. I feel very seen.
And heard.
So I did some, and heard, especially since we're on audio only at the moment. Did some real-time strategy gaming this week. So between Tempest Rising for the more traditional military style real-time strategy gaming, and then even today I did some StarCraft 2 with a buddy of mine. It's been a hot minute since I played StarCraft 2. Played some Terran. I was the humans just going through the machine of war, chugging along, and really just not contributing to the match at all because it's been so long since I played. From going back to what you said, Monster Hunter Wilds, absolutely. So as I mentioned in the prior week, is that they're doing a Capcom collaboration, and you actually get to meet Akuma in the game. And he puts you on a quest where you have to beat a monster. And when you go into the quest, you basically become Akuma. So you get like armor and skin that makes you look like him. And during the fight in the game, what happens is you break monster parts and they become glowing for you to like attack and do extra damage. Well, what happens is as Akuma, you get to do like Street Fighter moves. So he'll do the Hadouken or the Shoryuken, and then he has like other moves traditional to Akuma, and like literally you just start battering the monster back and forth with your fists. It's great. So you have to go through that quest a number of times to earn enough tickets to make the armor points after that initial fight. So I'll be doing that as hopefully before the collaboration period ends and before Title Update 2 comes out. Speaking of Metroidvanias, I put some more time into Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered. Got through the first boss in Soul Reaver 1, which is his brother Melchiah, and that's where you get the ability to phase through iron gates, which is a fun ability. It opens up some other areas of the world, and you get to go explore a little bit more, start doing some collecting. The one thing I will say about that game, and I never remembered it, was that the map system is horrible, and I can't remember where the hell I am half the time. So definitely still a fun game, and it's funny because even more so because I bought this game a while ago, and I didn't get to play it until recently. And now it's showing up in the Humble Bundle for the next month. So there's another game on that bundle that I kind of want to get that some of my other friends are playing, and I'm hoping they'll still be playing it by the time I pick up the bundle. So if there's anybody out there that wants Legacy of Kain for the PC, I'll have a Steam code for you. Put more time into Doom the Dark Ages. I just went through playing some of the a level I had to finish out. I was almost at 100%, so I wanted to make sure I got through all the secrets and all the collectibles. So I did that. Went to play Battlefield 2042, and EA, in typical fucktard fashion, decided to implement a new control procedure for the game, which makes you, if you're familiar with PC, you have to do secure boot, which I have on my PC because I have Windows 11 and it's required. But now, for some reason, it's not detecting it, and they're like, oh, well, you need to have this active to be able to play the game. It's to help prevent cheaters. Well, good thing I only spent $2.50 on the game because I uninstalled that bullshit real quick. Helldivers 2, just doing some Illuminate fighting with my friend Steve. It's amazing how much those Leviathans just decapitate you with their shots from halfway across the map. So just be aware of floating Leviathans in Helldivers 2. Indeed, been playing more Elden Ring Nightreign, did a trio with two friends of mine, Steve and Nick, and we tried to get Nick through the first boss, and we got there and got killed. The bosses are difficult, and there's a lot of people complaining that they don't like the game because you can spend 40 minutes going through day 1 and day 2 only to get to day 3 and get like 2 shot by the boss. They don't like spending all of that time getting through the game only to die at the final boss for that one phase. So I get it, but that's part of the fun of a roguelike game, is going time and time again. I can't tell you how many roguelites I played that I would get through all the way to the boss and die. And yeah, maybe it's like 20 minutes instead of 40. That's the nature of the type of game.
Did you just hear yourself, Matt? You said part of the fun of
it is.
That.
Yes.
Sir.
I play roguelites and I get my ass handed to me by bosses all the time.
You know what? If you're hosting a party, if that's what you think is fun and you're hosting a party, no offense, I don't want to come to that party because I ain't going to have no fun there.
I'm not going to invite you to a party and then kick you out as soon as you get here.
like I understand the complaint because like putting in all that time to get no progression is just
Well, that's not
absolutely
true.
frustrating.
There's not no progression. You gain drops. You gain relics in the game that help you strengthen up. So you get stuff. You get currency to buy upgrades and other things you need. You make some progression.
All right, I mean, I can understand how they feel like there is a lack of progression, even if they did input some kind of like, all right, you didn't, kind of like Returnal, like even if you died on a run, you started back at the beginning and all your progress is wiped, except you got to hold on to some key items, so it wasn't all bad. So it's kind of like that. But
Exactly.
I can understand how pouring that much time into a game, like, and here's the thing: if you don't like that style of game, then just don't play that type of game. You know, don't play Nightreign because maybe it's just not for you.
And that's why
Just
I
because
bring
it
this
says-
news to you.
Just because it says Elden Ring on it doesn't mean you have to play it, even if you
That's
like Elden
accurate.
Ring.
That is very accurate.
Because it is. I mean, it's a different style of game. It's not, like just a DLC for Elden Ring.
Yeah, and it definitely has its ups and downs.
But I did understand the frustration. But maybe
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
not a game for you.
Listen, I get that. I absolutely get it. But if you're also, it's Elden Ring. If you think you're going in there and you're going to two-shot the boss, it's not going to happen. It's not what Elden Ring is.
Yeah, I mean, well, I didn't play any Elden Ring, but my experience with FromSoft games, I had to fight Father Gascoigne so many damn times that I know that you're not going to just go over there and run roughshod over the boss.
Yeah, and I was one who gave up on Bloodborne real quick because I got stuck in an area and didn't feel like actually looking at a guide how to get out of it. That's one game I regret not going back to. Maybe if they ever do a PC release.
It would make them money, I'll tell you that much.
They'd get $53.20 out of me.
That's the thing, though. It's like that's an easy victory for Sony, and they're just not doing it. I don't get it.
There's a lot to not get, but that's Sony for you. Also, happy to report, and Alex asked me this over the weekend, and it was so busy, but I finally got my hands on my Switch 2. And I put a bunch of time into it, and I'll just quickly go over the games because there's actually a question later about this. But I played some Mario Kart World, definitely, because that was the pack-in game where I bought the console and game bundle to save myself $30 from Mario Kart World. I also went back and started playing some other games from the Switch era, and that included Tears of the Kingdom, trying to see the upgrades and benefits of the the boosted DLC essentially is what they made, as well as what else did I play on that? Crap, I'm drawing a blank. I did go back and they didn't improve the game at all, but on sturdier hardware, I went back and started playing Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, because on the Switch, that game ran horrid. It was bad. Here, I think it gets locked at 30 frames a second, but it now plays with no dropped frames. It's smooth. There's no jerkiness, no stuttering. So I'm looking forward to going back through and actually playing through that game, because I loved the original Hyrule Warriors and I really wanted to play this one, and it just was bad from a processing standpoint. And then I'll continue playing some other things. I went into the GameCube, Nintendo Switch.
Matt, I got a question real quick.
Go ahead.
How repetitive is Hyrule Warriors? Like, is it repetitive like the Dynasty Warriors games? Like, I'm talking like Dynasty Warriors 4, like going all the way back. How repetitive is it? Because I hear Warriors game, like what is it, a Musou game? I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, and I'm just like, nope. I'm not spending $60 on a game to get the same gameplay for 40 hours, 50 hours.
Yeah, you have to like the style or the theme, or maybe both, in the case of like Joe Priestley. It is repetitive in the aspect of you're in a battlefield, go fight these mobs and go capture these outposts, switch characters, go somewhere else. So probably not up your alley, but I like it. So therefore, and again, I don't like necessarily the style of game. I like the theme of it being in Hyrule and Legend of Zelda. I'm not out there playing Dynasty Warriors generally. I think that for a period they had like a Gundam Warriors, which I was interested in, but I just never played those series. So just some things to be aware of when it comes to those games. Yes, they get repetitive fairly quickly. You play the missions, you get the items, you upgrade your weapons, you upgrade your characters, go back in, play more missions. This is essentially what it is. Let's see. What else did I play on that system? I don't know. I don't really think I played much else. Like Alex said, is a lot of this week was getting the house ready for our sell, and a little bit of gaming sprinkled in here and there. I know it sounds like I played a lot of games. I didn't play a lot of those games. I just got a little bit of time here or there to play them. I just mixed it up this week.
Matt, you know what I didn't hear? I didn't hear any Mario Kart.
Yeah, Mario Kart World.
Oh, did you say you played that?
Yes.
I swear to God, I pay attention.
No, it's all good. It's. I kind of went over it briefly because I didn't want to jump ahead to Jeremy's question in our listener question section because I'll have more thoughts and things to go over there. So I don't want to jump the gun on it. Alrighty. Well, guess what? It's been a week, and it's also been a week in news. So coming up on our first article here, coming from Video Games Chronicle, says it's official. There are no Nintendo Switch 2 reviews. Here's what that means for us and you. So I'm not going to go over this article in so much as just the highlight of it to say a lot of journalists, and by journalists I mean game reviewers, game journalists, things like that, they're upset because Nintendo didn't send out Switch 2 units for review. And there was a couple different things that came out of that. First and foremost being that we covered the story last week that basically every single Switch 2 that was out there was dead or on arrival until the day one update on June 5th. So even if you had a Switch 2, you really couldn't do anything with it. And that patch enabled Switch 1 backwards compatibility, system transfers, online connectivity, Nintendo eShop connectivity. So really the system wasn't much for them to do until day one. And a lot of game reviewers and game channels were upset because they said, you know, Nintendo didn't give us a chance to tell you about this system beforehand. So the question, Alex, is, does it really matter on a console?
What, you mean like a review?
Yeah.
I think that if you're looking for like an all-in-one place for like all the information on a console, like, see, I mean, there could be product pages. I don't know. You could find that stuff. I don't necessarily know that a numerical value matters because consoles themselves do so much. You know, I mean, like, they play so many games. It's almost like this all-in-one entertainment box where it's so versatile that you can't just like peg it with one score. You know, it can't say it's like, oh, well, this, you know, the Super Nintendo is a 10 and the Genesis is a 9 and the PlayStation 2 is a 10, but the PlayStation 3 is an 8. I don't know. It's hard to assign a numerical value to something that just does so much. You know, like a game, it's much easier. Like, I get it. Like, you're buying the console to play games, and the console, like, as far as we've known consoles, like, they've been able to do what they're supposed to do. You know, some of them had more functionality than others, but in general, like, even despite like the Red Ring of Death episodes and all that, like, you buy a console, it'll play the games that come out for that console. So as far as like, you know, people will always need information on what the console can do, but, you know, at the end of the day, like, it's not like a PC where you need to know the specs. Like, all you need to know is like, I like these games, I want to play these games, and this is the box that I need to play it on. It's kind of like, so I know I'm talking in circles, but I don't think that a review score really matters all that much for a console, because either you want to play the games on the console or you don't. And It's just you're buying the console, not, you kind of like when you buy a console, when you buy a Sony console, you know what you're going to get. When you buy an Xbox, you know what you're going to get. When you buy a Nintendo console, you know what you're going to get. So, no, I don't think a review score matters as much. It's just software that matters. Now, if there's a big problem with the console, like, again, the Red Ring of Death, you need to know about that. But that's really not part of a review, I would think. It's just, hey, this is news and this is something you need to know. I don't know, Matt. I rambled there. Did I make any kind of point whatsoever?
No, you did. And you're kind of going down the path that I was trying to lead us to, was that in these eras where consoles sell out in a microsecond when they release, and we can kind of go over the Switch 2 launch woes and not so many woes this past week, is that, this article was written by somebody over at Video Games Chronicle, Andy Robinson, who says he doesn't believe for a second that it was in a lack of confidence of the console, but just that it's a bad look for Nintendo, who's made, in some people's opinions, questionable decisions on the Switch 2, the Switch 2 game pricing, things like that. And I can understand from a, buyer beware type of, if there's something massively wrong with the system, but I would think at a console launch in the days before, when you could barely even get your hands on a pre-order unless you're standing in line for hours outside of a venue, that you're not going to suddenly magically change your decision to get the console based on what reviewers are saying, unless it's a unanimous review where every outlet's saying, yo, there's this major issue with Switch 2. And had we, had it at or before launch, we would have let you know sooner. So I just don't think on a console review, it's very productive time for these people to say, hey, before launch is an issue. But after launch, when there's people who are on the fence and now the console's in the hands of millions of people as well as the reviewers, and now the reviewers come out and say, this is a great upgrade, or maybe they turn around and say, no, not the best, hold off if you can, then, those people who've been sitting on the fence will have their answer one way or another. They don't need it for day one. They need it after the fact. Let us all be guinea pigs. So
the crazy thing is, you think about this. What do you put more thought into buying? Do you put more thought into spending the $400, $450, $500, $600 on a new console? Or do you put more thought into buying the $60, $70, $80 game?
I definitely think the game, because the console is just a no-brainer. It's like, okay, new shiny toy. I'm going to go get that.
Yeah, and that's a point as to why reviews for games matter. Again, you're buying the box to play the games, and you already know before that console comes out that you're going to buy it. It's not necessarily the case with the games. Like an iPhone. People who love iPhones just immediately go buy the iPhone. Regardless of what reviews are going to say. They want the newest iPhone. They trust in the iPhone. They've had a good user experience. And, people who buy, Galaxies or any other Samsung phone or buy Androids, like, they know they're going to buy it. There's no question about it. So it's just kind of one of those things where the overall system, the thing that you use to do other things like access your email or, download apps or play games on your phone, or in a case of a console, play the games themselves, you really don't need a review for that because you're going to buy it. Because that's what gets you to go do these other things that you probably need reviews for.
Yeah, so I feel for journalists who were expecting something from Nintendo, but also I think, on a console release, I don't remember if they sent out PS5 Pros or anything like that ahead of time, but I also don't remember seeing a whole lot of reviews ahead of time. Usually I go to Digital Foundry for like hardware based assessments. But again, on a console release, if you're sitting there waiting on the fence and suddenly you get on a day one review where they turn around and go, listen, the console's borked, you can't use it at all. You're like, oh, okay, good thing I waited. Otherwise, everybody else is buying it up and making it very hard to get.
Yeah, but like if you're doing like a console review, a lot of your time and your experience with the console is going to be playing the games. And are you really reviewing the console or the game at that point? Like, how many menus can you go into, like, to review because, like, you think about reviewing a console, like, how well does it run games? Like, I don't know. I just think at that point you're talking about the game itself and not the console.
You know where it really helps, or I shouldn't say helps, but who it really helps are those people who make those videos. Top 10 things you didn't know you should do with your Switch 2. Like, they're the ones that get that out first and foremost because they had early access to it.
So what you're telling me is it helps Watch Mojo or Mojo Plays more than it helps you and me.
I think so, yeah. But you know who Sony is helping? People who love fighting games. Next article coming from gamesindustry.biz, Sony unveils its own internally designed fight stick, Project Defiant. Not entirely sure what that name is supposed to mean, but basically all this is that they are coming out with their own fight stick, which I've got some friends in the fighting game circuit, and a good fight stick is pretty damn good investment. No price, no real release date, but it's got all the things you'd expect out of a PS5 controller. Just put in a fight stick pattern. It is a ultra low latency wireless stick, and it should be available in 2026. I know you're not a huge fight stick guy, but I mean, this is a pretty big thing for Sony to come out with its own gamepad like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I mean, it's got a pretty clean design. I mean, there's not really all that much to it. There's the joystick, and then on the left and then to the right, there's 8 buttons, 8 very large buttons. So, me personally, I used fight sticks sparingly growing up. I can't remember the last time I touched one. We've got barcades in town where I've actually, played on an arcade system, but like as far as a fight stick for home, it's just something I use. So for me, this thing looks like, like I'm trying to, I'm reading Portuguese, as an English speaker, I'm reading Portuguese. It just doesn't compute. Like I just see it. I'm like, man, that's bulky. I don't want to use that. But obviously for someone who's used to using them for fighting games, and if it actually is ultra low latency, wireless connection, you don't got to worry about a cord. There's no cord in the picture. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems like a very simple fight stick that if it gets the job done, could be, something that's, it's designed like the DualSense. It's got the 2 color scheme. It's, so I mean, it's just a clean look. And I mean, it's kind of hard to, with the biggest buttons there are, I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of what someone who wants to play fighting games on a PlayStation 5 would need. It matches, it goes well with your console. It matches the design and it gets the job done as far as a joystick and buttons.
And the biggest thing that fight sticks have going for it is they need to be built tough. They need to be weighty, but not super weighty. They need to be able to take punishment, because the way I see people smack a fight stick around, it's like it owes them money. And as long as it's built rigid, I think it'll be good. But, it looks sleek. I've seen some horrid looking fight sticks in my time. So the two-tone color plus all the functionality of a PS5 controller. It says it even includes a touchpad area. I just hope it's not in the way of any of the items. I'd hate for somebody to press something and interrupt a match because they misclicked the touch sense pad, whatever it is.
Oh, and so, I got to say, like, looking at the touchpad, I understand completely why someone who's serious about their fighting games would want one, and Sony trying to cash in on that because they own Evo, right? They run Evo, so they have their own fighting game. Even if they don't own the games that are at Evo, they run one of the biggest, if not the biggest fighting game, competitions, or I don't know what you would call Evo. It's just like a big competition, right, Matt? That's how you would describe it.
Yeah, no, and I think them cashing in, and then maybe they get to a point where they say everybody uses this stick for to ensure fairness. I don't know. Maybe that's one thing I always worry about when you go down this path. But
they'll definitely have them there, and they'll definitely have you be able to buy them as well. Hey, you want to use this? Get hooked on it, and you can go buy it over there. But no, I was going to say is if you're serious about your fighting games, I can see how a joystick would be far more beneficial than like a DualSense controller, because using a D-pad, using the analog stick with your just a finger with your thumb, as opposed to like a joystick where you have your entire hand around it, all your fingers wrapped around it, you're just using that to move back and forth to pull off moves, to do combos, and you got your buttons. It's just a far better setup for someone who actually enjoys fighting games. as opposed to what a DualSense offers. So I get why it's a more advantageous system than, a regular controller.
Yep. So we'll see more about that in the future. It's just it's a peripheral like this that I go, all right, Sony, good job coming out with something like that, because you don't need to support it. You just put it out there, make sure it's good, make sure it lasts, and it supports its own. You're not expecting to do gangbuster sales. You want to give people who enjoy fighting games another option.
I will say though that one aspect of it I am worried about is the price, because I could see Sony charging at least $100 for this thing.
Oh, well, so when you talk about fight sticks, hold on one second.
Again, people, I'm showing how much of a novice I am with fight sticks in recent years, because I haven't bought one, haven't looked at any. So maybe me saying that seems kind of stupid, but I mean, yeah, I can see whether it's 100, 200, I don't know. Sony's definitely going to overcharge for this thing, I have a feeling.
Yeah, but so for instance, Hori has a line of fight sticks, and $230 for like a Tekken 8 fight stick. Or if we go with their PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Windows 11 and 10 regular fight stick, $200. So yeah, I'm thinking this thing will be $150 at least.
Well, I mean, so if everyone else is charging around $200, I don't know why Sony wouldn't try to
undercut.
No, I would say try to get as much as they can and price it around the rest of the pack.
Yeah, definitely. The next thing to discuss, I know we've talked about it before, but guess what you can finally do? You can now subscribe to Game Informer magazine again. We've covered the story in the past to say that Game Informer has come back, and now you can subscribe to the magazine. And guess what? Not only are you able to get it digitally, but you can get it physically as well. Currently, they're running a promotion that it's $48 for the year instead of the normal $70. That gets you a print magazine. Currently, they only have it where it's 10 issues per year. I don't know how they're going to space that out. Evidently, the special edition Game of the Year 10th issue is what would come. Fewer ads, no programmatic. Exclusive web features. You're going to have access to their system online. You're going to get the digital magazine as well. And they say 5% of every subscription purchase goes to support St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. So know that not only are you supporting a physical gaming medium, but also that you are getting a little bit more bang for your buck on your donations. So I'm actually kind of excited about this. I was one of the ones who liked getting the physical subscription to Game Informer. I gave me a little bit something else to do on the old porcelain throne instead of scroll on Facebook Reels for 5 minutes. But I like the physical edition of this game or of this magazine, and I actually might just go in and subscribe because I kind of miss getting physical magazines. Were you ever into gaming magazines?
So I never was a subscriber to any one of them, but I will say that I used to go into the grocery store. They had the little magazine section in I don't know where it was in your local grocery, but I would go to the magazines and Electronic Gaming Monthly. I would, pick those up and look at them. So, I mean, maybe once in a while I would have my parents buy me a copy, but not as much of a subscriber. But if we went to the store and I saw a game on there that I wanted or was interested in, of course, I grew up in the 90s, so one EGM that I remember particularly was a Beavis and Butthead one with them on the cover on a lawnmower, obviously kind of promoting the SNES or the Genesis game that they were in. But yeah, it was all based on whether the magazine had the games in it I was interested in. And if you go into the store and look at the magazine, well, you don't have to worry about not being interested in what the content is. So it was more of a less a subscription for me and more of a, hey, I like this game, I'm going to buy this magazine.
Back when I worked loss prevention, back before smartphones really had all the access to the internet they did these days, I would go, I'd get my gaming magazines, I'd have something to read at lunch. I remember going through reading about Dead Space when it was announced. And I have the Electronic Gaming Monthly Compendium. I did the backer kit. where I can go online and read all the old Electronic Gaming Monthly magazines online digitally. And it's just, to me, there's something about being able to read gaming content and not in a form where you're getting bombarded by massive pop-up ads and wondering if this is a paid sponsorship or something, or it's something pure about physical gaming journalism. That's how I feel. So for $48, I feel like I want to go in and support them and do that.
What I will say, Matt, is I don't think I could think of a worse way to take in like a magazine in an online format. That just sounds terrible to me. I mean, look, I get it. We use the computer to do a lot of stuff, to watch videos, to read articles, but just trying to, like you said, there's something about flipping through a magazine and it being just in your hands that just seems like the right way to take it in. Because I think, growing up on, like I said, EGM and Game Informer and Nintendo Power as well, like that's the way that you read them. That's the way that you look through them. You didn't do it online. So just doing it online now, despite the fact that we have put so much of our life in digital space, just doesn't seem like the right way to consume it. It just feels like you should have it in your hand if you're going to get the magazine subscription.
Yeah. And for those of you who want, you still get access to the digital magazine. If you just want digital, it's $32 a year as opposed to the $45 it normally costs. So you have options. I just like the idea of getting a physical Game Informer magazine again, and knowing that my fee isn't going to GameStop, who was the main reason that they pushed that.
Well, and hey, and also if you get the physical copy, that you have some reading material that you can put on like a side table in the living room or the den. If you have friends or family or guests over, there's some reading material for them.
Yep. And there's something also about being like, hey, look at this article. This is funny, or look at this game coming up, as opposed to just handing them your phone. You get to see it there in big print. Not funny, however, coming from Video Gamer, Activision says gross Call of Duty loadout screen ads were only a test that was added in error, but it doesn't excuse how vile that test is. So this came from a recent issue where players were seeing ads in loading screens in Call of Duty. In Call of Duty, the loadout screen allows players to customize their equipment, select their perks, tweak the playstyle. However, Activision recently added advertisements for paid skins in the loadout menu. It's, back when they started talking about ads in video games, they were talking about it making sense. Like, you remember playing Burnout and there'd be an ad for like an energy drink or something as you're driving along. Like, okay, it's on a billboard, makes sense that it would be there. Now, Activision, who says, oh, it was done in error, but it was a test indicating that they are heavily considering this. So there you go. Microsoft needs to make their money back somehow. So $70 game with microtransactions. I don't even call them microtransactions. I call them macro transactions, because when you're spending $20, $30 on a skin, that's not micro anymore.
Yeah, it's about, half the cost of a game or a third of the cost of the game. It's a decent chunk of money. I will say, an example I could think of really good advertising where it is placed perfectly in a game and it really made sense. I'll go back to Crazy Taxi, where you would drive people to Pizza Hut. Like, for me, that was great advertising, because like I didn't want to take somebody. I grew up in the real world, I grew up on Pizza Hut. I didn't want to take somebody to like whatever, some random made up pizza, joint that they used instead of, the real world thing. I didn't want to take them to like Pizza Kernel or something like that, or Pizza General. I want to take it to Pizza Hut because that's where I would go to get some fast food pizzas, Pizza Hut. So that's like that's an example of an ad in the game that I thought was used really wisely, or used in a very believable manner.
Yeah, and that's where it got away, because now instead of using it to support developers who deserve it, you've got AAA developers throwing it in there because they know people will spend the money and they know it's a quick, easy cash grab. And you got weird ass skins that, people are like, oh, I've got to have the Nicki Minaj skin, which, no, you do not. Just as a heads up.
Yeah, no. And see, that's the thing, is it's not like necessarily them advertising for Mountain Dew or Doritos or Pizza Hut or, some laundromat services. The real, the worst of the worst is them trying to sell their own shit to you. Like, hey, we are selling this digital good. You want to buy it? You want to buy it? It's these companies making these games that are trying to sell you their own shit multiple times, or it gets in your way of playing the game. Like, that's where it's the most egregious. It's not them trying to, tell you to go eat at KFC or, hey, don't you want to go get some Golden Corral or something like that? No, it's them trying to sell you shit for their own game. That's when it seems to be the worst and most invasive.
And again, it's not microtransactions. You're not paying $2 for a skin. You're paying $30, $40, sometimes $100 for a skin, which is, I'm sorry, if you do that, you are a fucking moron.
You know what, Matt? If you're playing Arcade Paradise, you should be playing some microtransactions with those $2 arcade cabinets.
And again, $2 here, $2 there. I'm okay with that. But when the skin costs more than the game, I'm sorry, it's egregious.
Hold on. What costs $100? Like, what skin or cosmetic in a game costs $100? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm shocked, but
so back in a number of years ago, there was a game, MechWarrior Online. You could pay in to get gold skins for your mechs, and the packages were $100. It literally tore the community in two because people were so pissed off. If they saw if your teammates saw you in a gold skin, they'd turn and team kill you.
How long ago was this? Because I feel like Fortnite was really when this kind of like the $20, $30 skins. And of course, Rocket League has the $20 goal scores. Like, I feel like it's been in the last 5 or so years that's really taken off. But MechWarrior, this was before Fortnite, that they were trying to sell $100, packs.
Oh yeah, MechWarrior Online came out around 2012.
Oh God, that's
it was
a long
over
time
the
ago.
next over the next couple of years as they upgraded things and they did new packages. It was getting bad. Now it was a free online game, so they had to monetize somehow, and I'm okay with free games monetizing. But when your skin costs more than the entirety of some games, I'm sorry, stop.
Yeah, that's just egregious. I think $20 is too much for a skin. Like, I think that's absurd.
I'm okay with skins being like $5, $6 if you really want something. But Angry Joe would talk about Halo, where they're charging $5, $6 for a blue skin, like a traditional color. Like, fuck off with that.
Here's the thing, though. You said $6 or $7. I think that's okay for a character. Like, if you're playing a fighting game or Super Smash Brothers, a character with a new moveset that has to be balanced, that's fine. But if we're talking a costume or like a cosmetic, you got to go lower than $5. I think anything above, $4 or something like that is just kind of fucking egregious. That's just me, though.
So anyway, buyer beware. Activision games expect to be fleeced. I am actually going to skip this last article, Alex, because we're going to be talking more about this once we get to some of our listener questions. And without Tricky here this week, guess what? You all don't get the soundbite. So good for us.
Good for Joe Priestley.
Good for Joe Priestley. So we'll get through some of the questions/complaints. Rick writes in and goes, when will Will Schultz be on the show? That's our famous Will Schultz from PlayStation Ain't Dead podcast. Well, Rick, the way things are done on the Trophy Whores, we have to ask our guests to record, and sometimes some people just don't want to record on their end. So unfortunately, until we get that squared away, Will, you're welcome on the show anytime. Just know that we each record our own audio. Will did have a bunch of questions. Walmart sent out free Cokes and Pringles and with Switch 2 pre-orders. Do they think gamers are fat, junk food eating, soda pop swirling pieces of shit? I on my Switch 2 delivery did get a bottle of Coke and Pringles, and I'm very happy and appreciative of that. So thank you, Walmart.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, like, they've always paired junk food with video games. Like Halo had their promotion. I can't remember what it was, but it was like
Mountain Dew.
Fuel.
Mountain Dew.
So yeah, this is nothing new. They're not like packaging like Caesar salads with a copy of Mario Kart. No,
Though they should.
What they're doing is like they are packaging. Let's be real. Most Americans, like, we know what the typical American diet out there is like. More Americans are probably more likely to eat some Doritos and a fucking Caesar salad. Let's just call it what it is. So I don't think we really need to be that offended that this stuff is getting marketed this way. But yeah, it's always been this way. People market snack foods, which aren't always the healthiest. They market snack foods and not pizzas and hummus, but like, other things to go with games because that's what people do when they game. They snack. So if you had some friends together to play Mario Party, you had snack foods, and those snack foods were like chips and like soft drinks. It wasn't anything particularly healthy. So this is we are responsible for our own undoing to this because let's be real, this is what a lot of times people will eat while they game, or at least what we used to.
And I'll tell you this: I had a couple Pringles. I didn't go crazy, but I will say I appreciate getting the snack. Like, I literally got the package handed to me. I was like, what the hell? Did I get somebody else's order? And then I go online and I find everybody is saying Walmart gave out Coke and Pringles. However, my issue is I'm upset that they were just plain Pringles. Meanwhile, other people out there were getting like pizza, sour cream and onion, cheddar. I was like, I got plain ones? Oh well.
At least they didn't try to give you combos. Those are fucking disgusting.
Combos have a special place when I'm hungry. Like if I'm in the car and I need something quick. But
no, Matt, it's if you're desperate enough to buy food from a gas station.
Yes, that's when absolutely. That is absolutely what.
How would you excited would you be if you got like a thing of Sun-made raisins and like a bottle of Deer Park water with your Switch?
Right in the trash. So right in the fucking trash.
There you go.
Alrighty. Will also says he wants to participate, but Switch 2 has dominated the news cycle as of late. He's over it, and that I refuse to speculate. That comes from a different conversation talking about the Switch 2 sales, which this finally goes into Jeremy's question, since I think Matt is the only one who pre-ordered. What's your early thoughts on the Switch 2? Also, he purchased one. Good job, Jeremy. So here's all of my thoughts wrapped up into one real quick conversation. First and foremost, the Switch 2, I think, had a banger launch. Now, pre-ordering back on April 23rd was hell. I stayed up till midnight, refreshing the page, managed to get through Target, managed to get through Walmart. My Walmart order literally came at 6:45 a.m., handed to me by an Uber driver. That's how they were sending them out from the stores. Now, the thing about the sales is slowly the news cycle came out that you were going to be able to get a Switch 2 in hand at GameStop, Best Buy, Target. They were going to have launch day consoles. You didn't have that for the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5. If you didn't get it online, you were shit out of luck. People were literally walking into GameStops, Targets, Best Buys at noon on launch day and still finding that there were consoles available. Now, what you have is you had people who were doomsaying, being like, well, the Switch 2 was a shit console. You're charging too much. People don't want it. Them being on the shelf proves it. And now the rumor comes out that the Switch 2 may have sold 3 million consoles in a 24-hour period, breaking the, I think it's the PS4 record. Let me look at that. PS4 console sales in 24 hours. Let's see. In the first 24 hours of its launch in North America, the PlayStation PS4 sold over 1 million units. Launch was considered the most successful in gaming history, according to Business Insider. What about PS5? Nothing. In the fourth? No, that was 2024. Yeah, biggest game system launches. Play site. Got to get around that ad blocker.
I just want to say thanks, Nintendo, for getting as many consoles out as you did. I mean, really, that should be the focus here, is they got out more consoles.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it, and people are saying, well, it's still on the shelves. It's a failed launch. Well, again, you...
How is it a failed launch if you have more consoles for more people to buy? You idiots.
Yeah, and they were... The literal thing Nintendo said is, we're trying to make sure we meet demand. And I don't... I'm on Reddit posts, I'm in forums, and I don't see a whole lot of people being like, it sucked. I couldn't get a Switch 2. Joe Priestley had said, listen, if you didn't get a Switch 2, it's because you didn't want one or you didn't try hard enough. Because they were out there. Literally. Because so for those of you who know, I pre-ordered 2 Switches, one for me and one for Kalai. Kalai has a lot going on in her life. I wanted to make sure she had one available for launch. And with everything I had going on this week, I didn't know what was going on as far as when my Switches would be delivered. Walmart finally came out and said, all right, you're going to get it launch day before 9 a.m. And literally, like I said, 6:45 it came out. And then the Target order literally didn't ship until the 6th of June. Now, the console launched on the 5th. So a lot of us who pre-ordered from Target are saying, well, what the fuck? So what happened is I was like, all right, well, as of that morning, I still didn't know what the hell was going on. So I'm on Reddit and I see a couple posts, and I follow Wario64 on Twitter like everybody else. And he put up 2 posts to say, he put up a post to say, listen, if you order from Verizon, they have them. So I went on my Verizon account. Sure enough, I was able to order one right there Thursday morning. And then I saw another article from somebody on Channel 3 who said Costco, who was going to have them in store, also had bundles for sale online only. I went on to Costco.com that morning, 8 o'clock that morning, ordered one for next day delivery. And I got my bundle. That's how I got my version of the Switch. The Verizon one coming in is for V, and then the Target one is whenever it gets delivered. If I don't find somebody who wants to buy it, I'll return it. And I'm not looking to sell it for profit. I just want to sell it to somebody who I know is going to like to game and appreciate it. All's that to say, I was never able to get my hands on this many PS5s or Xboxes. So the launch period, I think, if Will's comments to say anything, I'm speculating it's a success. I think it's going to be one of the most successful game console launches in history. Using the system, it's beautiful. I again really wish it was an OLED screen. It's an LCD screen, 1080p, but it's a variable refresh rate up to 144 hertz. So I like it. It plays really smooth. It's fast. It's a good size. It's got a good weight. The new Joy-Cons feel good. They really snap in there very well. The new kickstand is awesome. Having a USB-C port on the bottom and top is awesome. So I can stand it up and play it while it's charging. Game launch, I'm having a lot of fun with Mario Kart World, going back to your question earlier, Alex. They've got a couple different modes. The Grand Prix mode, and currently they only have 150cc, so they don't have the 200cc. They do have a mirror mode that you have to unlock. They have the open world where you get to just drive around and explore, but they also now have a knockout mode, and this is kind of like Mario Kart Battle Royale, if that makes any sense. That is, you race from point to point to point, and you have to be in, like, let's say 16th place and above makes it past the first point. 12th place and above makes it past the second point. 8th place and above past third, and then the 4th point is just, try to be the best. It's again, Mario Kart Battle Royale, which if that makes sense to you, perfect.
So Matt,
go ahead.
I have 2 thoughts.
Yep.
Well, observations. Number one, it's pronounced Grand Prix, sir. Let's make sure all the
Grand
listeners
Prix.
know that.
Okay.
But more importantly, you said like an open world kind of thing that you could drive around in Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Kind of like Diddy Kong Racing did it on the Nintendo 64. I'm just saying.
You know,
I'm just saying.
Sometimes other developers have good ideas, and Mario Kart just needs to perfect it.
Boom! Hold on, just a goddamn second. Perfect it, whatever. I got to race a walrus and an octopus in that game. Can you do that in Mario Kart?
Right now I cannot, but I can race a cow. I can race.
You can race as a cow.
Dolphin.
Yeah, well, is it? I know that there are dolphins in like the Mario games, but like, I wonder if that is a nod to the fact that was the code name for the N64 the Dolphin.
Not the 64, the GameCube.
Okay. I wonder if that's a nod, though. And granted, I know that they've had dolphin characters in their games, in like the Mario series before, but I don't know. That'd be a nice little cool nod. All right, sorry I sidetracked you there with my bullshit.
No, it's all good.
I'm not sorry,
not
but I just I did it.
Nice.
Nice.
The big thing that everybody's kind of pissed off about is Nintendo made this welcome tour game that they're charging $10 for. And this goes back to the article that I alluded to, we were skipping earlier. But basically, to be able to 100% the game, and I'm using air quotes for 100%, is you need to buy all of the accessories, including the USB camera, the Pro controller, have a 4K TV or monitor with 4K support to play one minigame, one tech demo. Basically, just to do everything you need to do, you have to be loaded. So I alluded to it earlier is that some people are upset with Nintendo's direction and things that they've done and choices with this console. I'm saying just from a pure console experience. Also, folks, if you want the Pro controller, which Nintendo charges $85 for, Costco, if you remember, has it for $75, just as a heads up. It's nice. The dock is sturdy. It also has a built-in RJ45 connector for your internet, so you no longer have to buy that silly USB dongle. You could just jack in directly. And yeah, I don't know. Any other questions you have about the Switch 2, Alex? Vicariously living through me?
Well, another observation, and I swear this one will be a little bit more timely, but you know what I haven't heard? And I heard this a lot for the PlayStation 5 launch. No one's really complained about how weak the launch lineup is. Like,
I hear a lot of complaints.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I mean, granted, I'm not seeking this out. I'm not like Googling complaints about Nintendo's launch lineup, but you got Mario Kart, which you have the versions of the Zelda games from the Switch, and then you have some third-party games, but it's just not a lot. I mean, and at this point, we've all been through enough console launches and played enough games to know that you may have one game you want to play at launch, but there's not really going to be a great selection of options because you are just starting out, and there's only so many companies I guess they could plan ahead. But yeah, I looked at the launch lineup and I was like, well, didn't want Mario Kart, definitely don't want the rest of this. So, I mean, I plan to buy a Switch 2 at some point, but it just wasn't for me. But the games that they made available. But I definitely looked at the launch lineup and said, man, I haven't really heard anybody complain about this, but it's not good. It's not great. There's not a lot there.
Yeah, well, so your boy Joe Priestley was complaining, saying,
he's my
Mario
boy now,
Kart.
huh?
He's your boy, yeah.
Well, I mean, we both like Ninja Turtles, so I guess that's fair.
There you go. Which Ninja Turtles is going to be in Tony Hawk 3 and 4.
Which, hey, I saw they just announced a new Ninja Turtles game.
Yes. So basically, what happens is a lot of people are complaining that Mario Kart in and of itself shouldn't be a system seller, and I disagree. I think it's a great game. Is it something akin to Zelda Breath of the Wild on the original Switch? No. But look at what the original Switch did.
Game on the Switch, Mario Kart
8 Deluxe, yeah. Because it was a massive game. Everybody loves Mario Kart.
It was the very definition of a system seller.
So, look at the original Switch. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and 1-2 Switch. Again, a paid demo, basically, of what the Switch could do, except it cost a lot more than $10. And then that was kind of it for me for a while on the Switch. I can't remember the next game I bought on my original Switch, but that launch lineup, it was a great game, but it was also not a lot. Here on the Switch 2, you have, again, a great game in Mario Kart World. And then, yeah, you have a lot of ports and remasters, reduxes. I argue kind of the same thing of the PS5 launch. You had Astrobot's Playroom, and then you had Miles Morales, which was a PS4 game that was ported to PS5. That was your launch lineup. And then you had a bunch of other games start popping out that were PS4, PS5 cross games. So to me, this Switch 2 launch lineup is basically like every other recent console launch in the last decade, 2 decades, we'll say. There hasn't been a lot. And I'm not wrong in that.
No, I mean, me bringing it up was not defending the PlayStation 5 launch lineup in any way, but I had kind of, from my observation, my own little world here, it seemed like people were so enamored with just getting the Switch that they were willing to look past what was actually available to play because they knew at some point, well, they were going to buy something else for the Switch, or you could play your Switch games on the Switch too, or to me it was just people were just happy to get the console in their hands and didn't really care that there wasn't a whole lot to play.
Yeah, and I would definitely say that Mario Kart is not an everybody game, but I also don't think Breath of the Wild was a everybody game.
It is even less of an everybody game than Mario Kart.
Yeah, I think Mario Kart has more sales than Zelda ever does. But then you also have games like Cyberpunk 2077, which people who didn't have a super powered PC or one of the latest consoles couldn't play. Then you have, upgraded versions of the games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And then there's other games coming out in short order. I know in September there's Daemon Ex Machina, Titanic Scion that's coming out that I'm interested in. But then, yeah, it's kind of quiet on what's coming out. So we'll see. But I also trust Nintendo to do the things that they're going to do to get us some games in the next couple of years. The Switch 2 lasted us, the original Switch was 2017, so 3 plus 5, so 7 years. I think over a 7-year cycle for the Switch 2, we're going to get some bangers. That pretty much sums up all of my Switch 2 thoughts. Now we get to move on to our topic of the week, which unfortunately, again, we don't have the soundbite that I actually like, but we're just going to be talking, generally speaking, about the massive number of game announcements that are coming out. We had Summer Games Fest start. We had a Sony State of Play. And today we had an Xbox developer. And it's just, there's a ton of stuff that's coming out the line, but I can't for the life of me think of anything like I'm dead set on. Taking this kind of one at a time. The Sony State of Play happened first, and you got things like the 007 First Light game that's announced. I think people are still trying to capture the GoldenEye experience, and I'm just not seeing it. More on Ghost of Yotei. One game I'm interested in, going back to our earlier conversation about fighting games, Marvel Tokon Fighting Squad, a Arc by Arc System Works, the makers of Guilty Gear, a Marvel fighting game like that. I'm excited. I don't know.
No, I think that if you're legitimately a fighting game enthusiast, that seems like a marriage made in heaven. Because obviously, Guilty Gear doesn't necessarily have the prestige of some of the other, your Tekkens or your Soul Caliburs or your Street Fighters. But when it comes down to it, that game series has, more than survived. It's thrived for how many years now? And just game after game. And just the reason is because, one, the art style, but also, the combat mechanics. So, yeah, that paired with the characters from Marvel, it's, people are going to love it.
Silent Hill F got its Release date announced, coming out September 25th. I still don't know what to make about that game. I might wait to determine how until somebody confirms that it's somehow linked to the proper Silent Hill history. Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. That's going to include over 20 different versions of the original Mortal Kombat games are coming to PS5, PS4. Retro Game restores Digital Eclipse have bundled the first 4 Mortal Kombat games as well as Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate and more into Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. Spelt the way you expect it.
With the case. They're going to, there will be online play.
Yes.
And this Digital Eclipse, if they sound familiar, they are the people that did the Cowabunga collection for TMNT.
So it'll be justice done to it. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is coming out August 28th. You saw a gameplay trailer. Nioh 3. I know has a...
Why not?
It's got a decent following, enough to get a third one.
Well, there's fucking 3 of them, Matt. Of course, they're just not just throwing this game out there for nobody.
When I had told one of the guys on Channel 3 I was excited about Armored Core 6, he's like, there's 5 of them? I go, actually more. So sometimes games will surprise you like that. So, out of the state of play, anything call onto you, Alex? Anything that was really being like, hey, this is what you're into?
So, Ghost of Yotei, obviously. Anything besides that, no. I grew up with Mortal Kombat, and I played all 4 of them, 1 through 4. I owned numerous of them. But, these days, do I want to go back and play online Mortal Kombat? No, that sounds terrible because I'll get my ass kicked and I'll have zero fucking fun with it. So, but it's about time there was a Mortal Kombat collection, especially with the early games. Not that I enjoyed, farming coins, spelled with a K, of course, in the later games to go buy stuff out of the crypt. But, Deception. At some point, it'd be nice to get Deadly Alliance, Deception, and then Armageddon, maybe, I think was the next one. So, I wish this collection had more games than it did. Maybe it's too much to ask for, Shaolin Monks or other games to be thrown in there. I don't know if we need mythologies. Maybe we do. But there's a lot of Mortal Kombat games in there, and I think going back to play the older ones, even if they are the most prominent ones that we all kind of cut our teeth on, I don't necessarily know if they're the most exciting games to go back and play. Then again, I say that, and I still think Street Fighter 2 is a fantastic game. So, everyone's got their opinions, and seemingly sometimes those opinions clash with each other. But yeah, Mortal Kombat, tons of respect for the series, understand how important it has been to the games industry, but going back to play the old games, I just don't think I put more than a half an hour into it. So, as far as anything else, Silent Hill, I never went back. I never bought Silent Hill 2, the remake. I thought I was, and I just never really wanted to. So I think Silent Hill is just not it for me. It'll be interesting to see how F turns out, because we talked about that before on the show, and how it fits, if it fits into the main series. It's a Silent Hill game, so you gotta figure they gotta tie it in somehow. But again, I appreciate the fact that game series is still living on, but nothing for me. So in fighting games, fighting games in general, I got off the Tekken bandwagon a long time ago, got off the Soul Calibur bandwagon. So really, anything no matter how I played Marvel vs. Capcom. I actually still own a copy for the Dreamcast. Played Marvel vs. Capcom 2 with my stepbrother. But just fighting games in general, I never put the time in it to learn, and it just didn't come naturally to me to learn the combos. So my enjoyment of those games was really shallow, even if there was a depth to them, and I just could never get past that. So none of the fighting games for me, even if I'm glad, to see even more, Marvel versus games. So.
Okay.
I think maybe the other showcases, the Summer Games Fest and all that, probably had more.
Okay. We'll hit that in a second, because this is hot off the press, just covering the
fucking hard
Xbox developer game showcase, where they had a number of announcements, including a lot of sequels. Outer Worlds 2, which I'm kind of excited upon. High on Life 2, which is that weird-ass game where the guns talk to you. They announced
that was from the creators of Rick and Morty, right?
Not the creators of Rick and Morty, but it was Justin Roiland and his studio that made the games. Obviously, Justin was prominently featured as the voice for many of the gun, or at least the main gun, but also a whole lot of things happened within Justin Roiland's personal life that led to his departure from Rick and Morty, as well as I think he got booted out of the studio. So I don't know what's going to happen. I didn't watch the trailer.
Gotcha. Oh, just a reminder that game is I think it's on the extras catalog for PlayStation Plus. So if you have extra,
it's a decent game. It's a competent shooter.
So yeah, if you want to go try it and you have PlayStation Plus, it's there under the extras tab. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. I think it's an extra game and it wasn't a PlayStation Plus free game. I don't know. It was available through PlayStation Plus, and I think it still is, but don't quote me on that.
There's a game called Resonance: A Plague Tale Legacy, which is 15 years before A Plague Tale Requiem. Young Sophia seeks her independence as a fierce plunderer in the unforgiving world of the 14th century. You played a lot of Plague Tale, right?
I played Requiem. That's the second one, right? No. But Innocence was the first one. Requiem was the second, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I got the Platinum Trophy and won them last year, and I'm pretty sure it was Requiem. I did not like it. First of all, I mean, it's a stealth game, and that's kind of like. First of all, I want to say it was a good game. I'm not going to knock the game in any way, but just the play style, the need for stealth, and just how kind of helpless you were at times. Like, I just didn't enjoy that. And playing a younger version of, or a younger character, I mean, you're not going to be any mightier, so maybe not for me, but, I mean, it was, overall, I mean, like, the storytelling was great, so I just didn't like how helpless I felt at times, because when I play video games, it's my escape. I don't want to feel helpless.
Yeah, I gave up on it pretty quickly, because I like a stealth game. I don't like a helpless stealth game. Republic of Gamers Xbox Ally world premiere. So basically, Xbox says, here's our version of the handheld. They're building it in collaboration with Asus ROG series, where it'll have Xbox and Windows all in one. So be aware of that. Super Meat Boy 3D, which I'm looking forward to because I love me some Super Meat Boy.
No fucking thank you.
I watched the video. I'm like, this is pretty punishing. It'll be fun. Ninja Gaiden 4 comes to Xbox Series X, Xbox PC, Cloud, PS5, and Steam on October 21st. Let's see what else. Typical stuff. In typical fashion, you get Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76 stuff. Gears of War Reloaded. They had a gameplay trailer showing in 4K. Can't wait till that comes out. A fighting game called Invincible Versus. So it's based off of the Robert Kirkman's Invincible series. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade coming to Xbox. How long ago? Finally, now it's coming to Xbox. And ending the show with Call of Duty Black Ops 7 official teaser. Surprise, surprise. If it's one thing you can count on in life, or if there's three things you can count on in life, it's death, taxes, and then a Call of Duty every year.
And now, you can count on me not enjoying any of those three things.
But you know what we can enjoy? The games shown at Summer's Games Fest. Which
okay, here's where we're going, because you better be talking some Shinobi to me, motherfucker.
Well, there's going to be Shinobi, absolutely. But for me, personally, top of the list, Resident Evil 9 Requiem. You know me, I love my Resident Evil. Lies of P Overture is available today at the DLC for Lies of P. Dying Light, The Beast gets a release date set for August. Wu-Tang Rise of Deceiver announced at Summer Games Fest. Sure. Also for me, Onimusha, Way of the Sword, new Games Fest trailer. So I love me some Onimusha. Game of Thrones, War for Westeros lets you take command of the Great Houses and even the Night King himself. It had a trailer basically saying, listen, you know how the show and the books went? Now you kind of get to direct that yourself. Hitman, World of Assassination, Elusive Target sees Mads Mikkelsen reprise iconic Casino Royale role. You know, I haven't watched any of the Hitman, or I'm sorry, the, what is it called? The Daniel Craig James Bonds. Have you?
Casino Royale and all those.
Okay. Yeah.
No, the last James Bond movie I watched was Pierce Brosnan in like what is it? Tomorrow Never Dies or something like that. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a Pierce. He was in it. Pierce was good old James Bond in it.
Yeah. Okay. This is the one I know you were excited about. Scott Pilgrim EX.
Yeah. Well, excited. Yes. I am very excited because Tribute Games is the developer behind that, right?
According to the article, sorry, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, it's
okay.
VentureBeat's got an article here. Scott Pilgrim EX is a new beat 'em up adventure from Tribute Games. Now, for those who don't know, Tribute Games are the people who made Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge, and I also think Tribute's aren't they behind Marvel Cosmic Invasion as well?
I think so.
Yeah, so they're just all over the fucking place. They made the greatest side-scrolling beat 'em up ever in Teenage Mutant Turtles: Shredder's Revenge. How they beat Turtles in Time, I don't know. That game stood test of time and has been considered the best Ninja Turtles game, maybe the best brawler of all time. Well, here comes Shredder's Revenge and Tribute Games, and they fucking did it. So the only sad thing is, I think this, we got the DLC, the Dimension Shell Shock, and then we got a couple DLC characters in Mona Lisa and Mondo Gecko. I guess this fully signals the end of any support for Turtles, which is a little disappointing. But the fact that Cosmic Invasion looks great, the fact that, Scott Pilgrim, I wasn't art style wise and just kind of the movement in that game, I wasn't as nearly as enthused about it as I was other brawlers. I think that really the star of the show in that is the soundtrack. Anna Managuchi, that's the best thing about that game. Now the gameplay is good, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed other brawlers. So I don't know, maybe the tribute touch can endear me a little bit more, but I'll definitely try to give it a whirl. I know Dotemu, they are also involved in some of these. Marvel Cosmic Invasion, I don't know, maybe they're involved also in Scott Pilgrim. I can't remember. But they also, for those who don't know, not only Shredder's Revenge, but Dotemu was either publisher, part developer and publisher, or publisher on Street Rage 4. So they also, along with Tribute Games, have brought us some of the greatest beat 'em ups here in the last few years. So yeah, Scott Pilgrim EX. Not going to light my world on fire, but because it's Tribute Games, I'm definitely going to pay attention. And I did get the Platinum Trophy in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, so I'm not going to completely write it off. But there are just some things about that series that keep me from liking it or being as excited as I am for, say, Marvel Cosmic Invasion, which, looks, you'll see that and all you think of is the X-Men arcade game or Captain America and the Avengers. And that just evokes, so much good feelings in me that I can't even describe it.
Moving on, we've got Mortal Shell 2, we've got Death Stranding 2. In typical Jeff Keighley fashion, he brought out Hideo Kojima to talk about Death Stranding 2 on the beach, which is coming out very shortly, June 26th. Seems like we were waiting much longer for the original Death Stranding than what we're now getting the second one, but I probably won't be picking it up since I never finished the first one. Let's see. Couple other things: Sonic Racing Crossworlds, Atomic Heart 2. Wasn't aware that Atomic Heart 1 did so good that it deserved a second one, but it looked a little shot out. Lego Voyagers is a new 2-player co-op adventure with split fiction style Friends Pass, which Lego's co-op gameplay I might be in. A new horror game, Ill. This, me and horror games, I'll be into that, so looking more for that.
Matt likes to have the poop scared out of him.
I do. And then we'll talk about Shinobi Art of Vengeance, which I'm looking at the art style here. It
beautiful.
Looks really freaking good.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And my biggest interest in all of these games is the brawlers. Your Marvel Cosmic Invasion, your Shinobi, yeah. And I mean, hey, I'm playing a Metroidvania style game with, hack and slash style combat in Prince of Persia right now, so I guess it makes sense. I guess it all fits together.
And that comes out on August 29th, so very soon, all things considered.
I used to love playing Shinobi on the Game Gear. I never really played on the Genesis, but I love playing Shinobi on the Game Gear. Every time my stepbrother would go on we would go on a family trip. We both had Game Gears, and we would both bring Game Gears. And like I had some games that he didn't have, and he had some games that I didn't have. And two of the games that he had that I didn't have were Sonic Chaos and Shinobi. I can't remember. I think it was Shinobi 2, maybe. I can't remember exactly which one it was. But we always like switched games and played them, and I just love playing that game. So,
okay. Well, with that said, there was a lot of games coming out, still a lot of things to announce, and look forward to seeing what comes out in the next couple of years. But anything else from Summer Games Fest that really stoked your fire?
No, honestly, like walking away with a few games. And I know, like I said, I talked about Marvel Cosmic Invasion, which was shown a couple months ago, so it wasn't quite this. But once again, got to give some credit and love to Tribute Games, who have 2 games coming out now, in Scott Pilgrim and Marvel Cosmic Invasion, which I'm sure will draw a ton of interest. But no, I mean, between all the shows, whether PlayStation, Microsoft, or Summer Games Fest, I definitely feel like there was something in everything that I would be interested in. So I think walking away with at least 3 things to be excited about is definitely a good thing. I don't want to spend too much money, but I want to spend some money.
Now we're just waiting to see what Nintendo comes out with.
Well, they got that Donkey Kong Bonanza game, right?
Which I've never been a huge Donkey Kong fan, so
maybe that's
whoever enjoys
there
that.
We go. That's where we find the Diddy Kong Racing hate came out and started from the very beginning. It's the root of it all.
Right there. It's been there on the surface.
So you're telling me you weren't into Donkey Kong Country?
No, really wasn't. I'll watch a speedrunner, but I've tried playing it time and time again, and every time I'm just like, nah, bored.
Bored? These games were difficult. Or difficult-ish.
Yeah, bored.
How could you be... Okay, so Tropical Freeze? You didn't play Tropical Freeze?
No.
That's literally one of the best games on the Switch, Matt.
I don't know. I don't care for Donkey Kong as a character. I'm on record saying it.
Send all your hate mail to... No, don't send any hate mail. Valid opinions are appreciated.
All right. Also appreciated are us closing out the show with some good old shout outs.
Yeah. I'm assuming that you want me to go first since you're hosting.
I would appreciate it, yes.
Well, Matt, I do what I'm told, so you got to tell me to do it or else I'm lost in the woods.
Well, then do your shout outs.
Okay. Oh, thank God. I thought you were going to leave me hanging there. It's like the vampire. You got to invite me in. So I want to give a shout out to our community, the listeners, the fuel to the fire, the trophy holders. Thank you all for powering the show because it's really you all that kind of push us forward and keep us going. So your continued support is incredible. Shout out to my co-host, Matt, who is the only one here with me tonight. Tricky had to work, Yield being at a family function. So want to give a shout out to those guys who could not be here with us. Give a shout out to my loving and awesome girlfriend, Ashley. I love you, hun. And that is going to be the end of my shout outs.
All right. Thank you,
I do want to say, I knew I was going to fucking forget this, but I was thinking about it. I did want to give a little bit extra sauce on that shout out to Ashley because she had graduated back in December, back in like the fall or the winter season, but she actually got to walk in a graduation ceremony from WGU. She finally got her college degree this past weekend on Saturday. So we did the whole ceremony and she got to walk across stage. So we just want to say that very proud of you, hun. And I just wanted to mention that she finally got to walk to get her college degree. And I think that was a very incredible achievement.
And continued shout outs to Ashley then. I will add on to that. Shout out to you, Alex, for recording me tonight, holding down the team as a 2-man crew. Shout out to Alex, Tricky and Yield.
I'll take another shout out, Matt. You keep going.
I will always shout you out. Shout out to Tricky and Yield for doing what you need to do to keep your socials and jobs afloat. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Special shout out to V because for the next, I think, like 7-8 Monday nights, she's going to be streaming Blueprints on the Channel 3 Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Channel 3, I think it is. I should know this. Yeah, twitch.tv/channel3GG. So go there, show her some love. Generally, she'll be streaming after 7 p.m. on Monday nights Eastern, the best time zone. So make sure to check that out. Again, Blueprints is what she'll be playing.
Do they need to know her name?
Well, she's going to be doing it on the Channel 3 Twitch. She's not doing it on hers, so it'll be twitch.tv/channel3. You can find her on her own channel, twitch.tv/gamerveranza. Shout out to Will for the art that you use and make for us. And then, again, shout out to V for everything you do. And with that said, closing out Trophy Whores 675. Let's see what happens next week. Until then, happy hunting, folks.
Later.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/EvenPhilippines.